Hello friends, this is going to be a quick video on how you can play the entire Warriors Orochi series on your Steam Deck. Now this is going to just include the best versions of each respective game, meaning that you could technically play all the meme versions of these games. 1, 2, and 3 got a lot of ports that there's no reason to play in 2023 anymore. It's including... They ported both 1 and 2 to PSP. They also ported 3 as well, believe it or not. They also ported 3 Hyper. That was for the Wii U. There's other versions as well. So you could technically play those, but, you know, we're just going to try to play the best versions here. So first we're going to start out with Musou Orochi Z, which obviously is abandonware. You can't really find it anymore. In terms of setting it up, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can do all the English patch and stuff on the Steam Deck. There are videos on where to acquire and patch the game, so you'll have to find those on your own, unfortunately. But once you get the game installed, what you want to do is you want to load the LDR ACC exe file. What that is it's the file that translates the text. So you'll have all the weapons, and some minor things in the game will be in English. None of the dialogue will be. Apparently the patch has not been updated for like 13 years, so you're going to have to take what you can get. But in terms of pure gameplay, it's more than playable. I have played through 2 campaigns already, and I've had pretty much no issues at all. So first thing you want to do, for compatibility, generally with Musou games, they're all pretty much on the same engine, so generally you want to run them on Proton GE. However, I tried running this on Proton GE, and it's weird because it gets the FMVs to play, meaning stuff like the logos and any of the cutscenes that are not rendered in engine, but the actual game wasn't working, so I just put it on Proton 8803, and none of those videos will play, but the actual gameplay will work fine, so I think that's more than good enough of a compromise. Now, in terms of total power draw, you can play this on 6 watts and get pretty much no performance loss at all. So, for a Musou game, normally you can get like maybe 2.5 hours. You can get about 4, maybe 5 hours of this, especially if you tweak it even more. But that was the sweet spot that I found. Now, one thing about this is it will detect your controller pretty much perfectly, but because, you know, it's an old PC port, it's like 15 years old, it's going to have some problems detecting certain aspects of your modern X input controller, so this was how I fixed that. You want to go to Edit Layout, and then all this is fine, buttons is fine. For D-pad, you're going to want to map your D-pad to the arrow keys, otherwise you will not be able to use the D-pad for the menus at all, so you want to change that as well. Also, your right analog stick will not pick up for some reason, so just map these to whatever buttons you want. I just put it on 1, 2, 3, and 4 because obviously I'll be playing this mostly portably, so I won't have access to a keyboard being hooked up anyway. So just map these to whatever you want, and then you can just leave it on the default controls. The other controls will be pretty much exactly as they would be on any of the other versions of the game, so you'll be right at home. So make sure that you save the layout after you do this, and then you'll have to do this separately for both docked and portable. So if you're a content creator, you will have to come in here and do this again. But if you're in portable mode, you only have to do it once. But it will remember the setup or your configuration for each respective controller that you have. So for me, I've got an 8BitDo Pro 2, so every time I play in dock mode, which I've been streaming a little bit recently, it'll just pick it up. So you only have to do this once. Once you get into the game, you're going to notice some problems here. Alright, so a little DOS prompt was it loading the English patch. So none of the logos will work. I know you're heartbroken. But then you get into the game, and everything is completely fine. So the resolution won't go up, but, you know, this is kind of like the authentic experience anyway. Sub HD. So like I said, you don't need to run this on 15 watts at all. 6 watts is like the sweet spot that I found for being able to run this at a stable 60 FPS. Alright, so let's go ahead and back out. So let's go into the collections here. So your path is going to be Orochi Z, get the Abandonware port from wherever you desire, Orochi 3 Definitive Edition, and then Orochi 4. That's pretty much the entire series. Orochi 3 I've already covered, but go ahead and do this one more time. So Proton 803 is actually really good for this version now. You can run this at about 12 watts, I'd say. I tried to lower the watts a little bit more, but then I started encountering performance issues. So 12 watts is the sweet spot, so you can get maybe about 3 hours out of this on a full charge. It's just like kind of jumping through time here. Going through different eras of Muso. So this game's not going to support 800p, so when you're playing on a screen like this, it's going to look a little weird, but nothing you can't deal with. Put the best track on. You can see the game looks pretty fine. I think I actually have it on low settings because I do attempt to stream this sometimes from the Steam Deck off the processor and have some issues, but it works quite well. Just go quick gameplay here. I've already covered this, so I don't feel a lot of time. I don't feel like I need to put a lot of time into showing this off again.
妖術で阻まれています。術者はおそらく清盛の腹心孫悟空。まずは他の者を打ち明かさない。待て、年恵。逃げられてまったか。清盛を打ちさえすりゃみんな戻る。待っとれよ。清盛のおっさんは日に日に力を増してる。殴った程度じゃその術は解けねえよ。
Alright, well that's enough of this. This pretty much just works. It actually did have a lot of problems back when the Steam Deck first came out. There was a lot of problems with excessive screen shake on the menus. Lots of weird stuff like that would happen, but the game itself has not been patched. However, they seem to have fixed things on the Proton end, so I can't recommend this port enough. It used to be pretty complicated to play a good version of Orochi 3. The best options were pretty much either the PS3 version emulated with a 60 FPS patch, which I never bothered to try. I actually went the extra mile, and I actually dumped my own legal copy of Orochi 3 for the Switch, and then got an overclock and 60 FPS mod to make it run well. Ironically, that game actually runs really well on real hardware on the Switch. As long as you overclock it, you can get 60 FPS most of the time. But obviously, that's a lot of effort. Now you can just buy a Steam Deck and just buy the game off Steam, so I can't recommend this enough. I've played about 55 hours of it. Probably more than half of that has been on the Steam Deck. It is a great portable game. It is immensely better than any of the other versions that you have access to right now, because it's the only one that runs natively at 60 FPS, and on the Steam Deck you can achieve that pretty easily. Now, Orochi 4 I've showed before as well. However, Orochi 4 actually got a major performance boost in the SteamOS 3.5 update. So what that means is they haven't really patched the game at all for Steam Deck performance. The SteamOS got updated itself. And some games actually run considerably better. Unfortunately, a lot of them aren't ones that I own. But for the stuff that I own, this was probably the one that got the biggest performance gains. So for this game, let me see what I've got here. Proton GE for this. Apparently they updated this to be playable. But we're just going to go ahead and roll with what already works, because I don't want to do another take of this video. I want to make this short and concise and to the point. You've seen me play these games to death before. I don't think there's a whole lot that needs to be said at this point. Okay, so for this game, obviously this is the heaviest game in the series since, you know, it just came out a couple years ago. So it's going to be quite a bit harder to run than the previous games. But you can get a pretty stable 60 FPS at all times now. Obviously it's going to look pretty bad when blown up on a screen. It'll probably look marginally better than the Switch version. But these are the settings that I went with. So 720p, your VSync at 60 FPS. This game in particular has some things in the graphics settings that just tank their performance and they don't really make the game look much worse. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this slowly. So if you plan to buy a Steam Deck and the game, or you already own the game and want to play it on your new Steam Deck, this is pretty much the best way to do it. Yeah, reflections is definitely something you want to turn off in most Muso games if you're barely meeting the requirements like the Steam Deck does, because it's not going to make the game run. It's not going to make the game look much worse, but it'll run better. So the thing about this game is if you have particles on low, you actually straight up can't see some certain attacks and stuff. So medium is a good, I guess you could call it a happy medium. And there you go. A volumetric fog is well known in most Muso games to tank their performance and have no discernible difference on the viewing quality, so take that off as well. Alright, so let's get into some actual gameplay here. You'll still experience some performance drops during this, but I mean, it does that on console as well, so the poor little Steam Deck deserves a little credit. It's only going to be certain attacks as well. For the most part, it'll look fine. Alright, well there you have it. That's the entire series playable on the Steam Deck. Orochi 4 was definitely the hardest game to run before, mostly just because it was the most intensive game, and I guess SteamOS just didn't like a lot of the Muso engine games. That actually is still an issue. I tried a decent chunk of the other games as well. Actually, I'll go ahead and we'll do a little extended coverage here, because I know I'm going to get a lot of questions about the other Muso games. So let me go into my my little folder here. I did try a decent chunk of the games that didn't run well before, and unfortunately most of them got a marginal performance boost at best, so it's not really worth making a video. I tried Dragon Quest Heroes 2. It actually ran a little bit better, but still wasn't able to hit 60 for some reason. If I find a way to do that, I'll definitely let you guys know. That's probably going to be disappointing for most, because there is a Japanese Switch version of this game, and it runs pretty bad. So I'm sure a lot of people are probably looking to this for an alternative. It does not run very well. Spirit of Sanada was tested by a viewer of mine, and he said that it runs just as poorly as it did before. So this one is out of the question. Warriors All-Stars is interesting because I might have to go back and look at my old settings, but I couldn't get this game to run well at all for some reason. It felt like it ran worse after the SteamOS update, so that's kind of unfortunate. Warriors All-Stars is pretty underrated. It's not like the best Musou game by any stretch of the imagination, but it is decent for what it is. If I could find a way to get this to work again, I'll definitely let you guys know, but it does not have Steam Cloud, so I feel like the Musou games on Steam that are available officially on Steam that don't have Steam Cloud are like a real pain in the ass to play, so you kind of put that into consideration. Like, Pirate Warriors 3 runs perfectly. It's even easier to get your controller working on the Steam Deck than it is on PC, but there's no Steam Cloud, so you're going to have to back up the saves by yourself, and if you play both on PC and Steam Deck, you're going to have to do that constantly, or set up a cloud save app or something. But yeah, other than that, I haven't really gotten around to a lot of the other games. I'll probably try Arslan again, but that, once again, does not have Steam Cloud. Is also known to be a very demanding port. Back when it came out, nobody could run it, because like people had the best computer components available at the time, which was like 7 years ago, and they could barely run it. So I don't have a lot of faith that this will run much better. I will try it again in the near future. But yeah, Pirate Warriors 4 also got a big boost as well, but I will save that for another video because this is Warriors Orochi themed. But yeah, out of the games that I tested, the ones that got the biggest performance boosts were Pirate Warriors 4 and Warriors Orochi 4, but I will do a separate video for this at another time. Thanks for watching, and yeah, you can play the entire series now. I actually think that's really cool, because there are a lot of series you can play on the Steam Deck in its entirety. You can play like almost all of Ys, almost all of Final Fantasy, a bunch of other game series as well. Pretty much all of the Tales series if you count emulation and things like that. So as I get more space on my Steam Deck, which is like the major bottleneck right now, I'll be doing more of these videos, but right now I'm kind of limited by what I've got. So if you have any specific requests, you'd like me to test something on SteamOS 3.5 that I already have, let me know, and I'll either reply in the comments or make a specific video for it if I deem it worthwhile. Thanks for watching.